Folly.
It's Latin for many.
Tick.
Now suck your blood. Now suck
Politics.
your blood.
This is a headline from dailycaller.com, and it summarized this story, and we'll kind of go through it here. But the headline is right-wing conspiracy theory apparently turns out to be real in under 24 hours.
The time frame
Yeah, I
by
like
which
the slap of
things
the time
are the time frame by which things go from conspiracy theory to truth is getting shorter and shorter and shorter.
Yeah.
You know, we've all been ranting and screaming about how the conspiracy theorists were right over the past 2 years and loads of different subjects. Now it only takes about 2 hours.
Yeah, and it's almost like we're watching the pendulum swing that we've been talking about. If it was an hourglass, this is like the equilibrium point, you know. Soon it will flip.
The credibility of mainstream media dying by their own hand in real time. It's very interesting. Yeah. So tell us about it.
All right. So it says in this Daily Caller article, the New York Times initially framed a story on an election software company's connection to the Chinese Communist Party as a, quote, right-wing conspiracy theory. But within 24 hours, the story turned out to be true.
Woo.
All right, so I'm going to do the articles real quick from the New York Times.
It would be shocking if it were not so predictable.
Yeah. Well, New York Times here, this is the article in question, published October 3rd. And the headline here, how a tiny elections company became a conspiracy theory target. Oh, they're targeted, Basil. You don't understand.
Yes, violence.
So this is that first article. I got a couple things highlighted here. At an invitation-only conference in August at a secret location southeast of Phoenix, a group of election deniers unspooled a new conspiracy theory about the 2020 presidential outcome.
Secret location.
That we are publishing about in New York Times. The Rising of the Phoenix, Basil. It's all symbolism. You understand?
This
is the Rising of the Phoenix.
The Gray Lady speaks in symbolism.
Yes, using threadbare evidence or none at all. The group suggested a small American election software company, Konek, had secret ties to the Chinese Communist Party and had given the Chinese government backdoor access to personal data about 2 million poll workers in the U.S., according to online accounts from several people at the conference. The absurdity.
All right. So simple statement there that there was a theory that a small elections company had ties to China.
Named company, Konek.
Sure.
Not even ambiguous about it. Yeah.
Had ties to China and was giving them information.
Yeah.
All right.
A couple more things from that article. In the ensuing weeks, the conspiracy theory grew as it shot around the internet.
Oh my God.
To believers, the claims showed how China had gained near complete control of America's elections. Some shared LinkedIn pages for Konek employees who have Chinese backgrounds and sent threatening
violence.
They sent threatening emails to the company and its chief executive, who was born in China. Quote, might want to book flights back to Wuhan before we hang you until dead, one person wrote in an email to the company.
So passionate
people. And it goes on and on here. A few more things about Konek and ties to the Chinese government. But the claims have had consequences for the firm. Konek's founder and chief executive, Eugene Yu, an American citizen who immigrated from China in 1986, went into hiding with his family after receiving threatening messages. Other employees also feared for their safety. These poor people being harassed by baseless conspiracy theories.
Hey, look, I would hate to be in their position for sure.
Yeah, well, it goes into more of the details here, and it's funny because it's sort of building. It's threading its own noose almost, because a couple days later, no, not even a couple days later, the next day, or maybe October 4th, the next day, New York Times headline. Election software executive arrested on suspicion of theft.
Oh no.
And the sub-headline here is the executive, Eugene Yu, and his firm, Konek, have been a focus of attention among election deniers.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was arrested. What was he arrested for?
Eugene Yu, the founder and chief executive of Konek, the technology company, was taken into custody on suspicion of theft. The Los Angeles County District Attorney, George Gascon, said in a statement. Konek, and it gives a little bio about Konek and the big thing about China. The county, this is LA County, released few other details about its investigation, but it said in its statement that the charges related only to data about poll workers and that, quote, the alleged conduct had no impact on the tabulation of votes and did not alter election results.
Oh, so he said he's admitting specifically that the CEO of the company is arrested for stealing data and sending it to who?
Don't know, but it didn't change or impact the election. See, you can pay attention to the details.
Does it not say that he was sending it to China?
Let's see. Later on here. Konek came under scrutiny this year by several election deniers, including founder of True the Vote, the nonprofit that says it is devoted to uncovering election fraud. True to Vote said its team had downloaded personal information on 1.8 million American poll workers from a server owned by Konek and hosted in China. It said it obtained the data by using the server's default password, which it said was, quote, password. Classic. Classic. Yeah, we're going to have a cyber pandemic because this kind of stuff, The password was password. According to online accounts from people who attended a conference about voter fraud when the claims were made, the group provided no evidence that it had downloaded the data, saying that it had given the information to the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Mm-hmm. And then later, the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office said it was unaware of True the Vote's investigation and said it had no input on the county's investigation. So, it's weird because they're like denying the stuff they found, these sort of independent people found.
Konek allegedly violated its contracts by storing critical information that the workers provided on servers in China. Mm-hmm. That's what Gascon said, right. the Los Angeles District Attorney. Is that what he is?
He's the Attorney General, I believe.
Attorney
General Gascon. It's Triple G. Hold on. What was his full name?
I'm back at the Daily Caller article here. While Gascon noted that none of the information appeared to have been sold, any data stored in China must be provided on demand to Chinese intelligence and security agencies. So he's kind of trying to defend himself, this fella, by saying, no, we didn't sell the data. We just stored all the data in China on Chinese servers, which we know. You obviously the Chinese government and the Chinese intelligence agencies have direct access to.
Well, they're going to right-click save. It's pretty simple.
Yeah. So that's fun. Not only was this known like weeks before, but the New York Times, again, using actual phrases like crazy right-wing conspiracy theory about the idea that Konek would give away any election data to China. Hours later, turns up that's exactly what was going on. Well, I will say this fella, you fella, is technically innocent until proven guilty, Gons. This is all just
America, baby.
This is all just one big mix-up, okay, Gons? And it's racist for you to think otherwise.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Well, thanks, New York Times.
Well,
You're all the news that's fit to print.
Well, it feels like this is all, even just this revealing is sort of a purposeful, and it might show kind of the financial flows where somebody's pushing out the Chinese money and imposing their own, maybe through the LA Times, and because this is New York Times versus LA Times with not LA Times per se, but Gascon being from LA.
Following the data certainly will be, following the money will certainly be a part of the investigation.
Well, following the data is following the money in the blockchain world, Basil. It's all transparent.
I would imagine that if they didn't already do that kind of investigation, they wouldn't have gotten this guy. They wouldn't have picked him up.
Yeah.
The FBI, that is. So, we had a little bit of this conversation beforehand. You're crafting sort of a theory here that says something like the New York Times is kind of doing a controlled demolition, like they meant to put these out in the series that they are. I think to a degree, possibly more frightening is that it is pure incompetence. I mean, the conspiracy theory denying types, they will often say like, no, conspiracy theories can't be real because people are just incompetent. You know, all these things, nobody's competent enough to pull off a conspiracy theory, which is the weakest argument possible. We all agree.
Yeah.
But in this case, I think it is very likely that the New York Times, through its own incompetence, releases these two headlines within 24 hours of one another. Just nobody paying attention, you know. They're written, you know, they're probably articles written by two different people and they're just scrambling to meet a deadline. One guy, oh yeah, are they two different
same guy
authors? Same guy.
Yeah, Stuart A. Thompson writes about online information flows, and yeah, same guy published both articles. In the New York Times.
Well, sounds like this guy needs a performance review. If you ask me, Gons, performance review. That's what
if he was assigned I mean, you can't put it all on Mr. Stuart A.T. You know, maybe he was told, hey, look into this, and then he had a take, so he put his sort of take on it, and then. You can say the incompetence was through him, I guess.
Even more embarrassing, I'll even give the credit, the benefit of the doubt, and say maybe the news of the guy's arrest came out after he wrote the crazy conspiracy theory article.
Yeah.
So he's just like, yeah, this is crazy. Of course, election denying nonsense. And then hours later, he sees the guy gets arrested and he's like, oh no. And he just has to kind of eat his hat and hope for the best. Cross his fingers and hope for the best.
Maybe it's trying to gain back credibility, you know, like, hey, look, I can say that crazy thing, but also I report the facts.
Yeah, all right, complete nonsense to fire up the liberal base and get everybody mad at election deniers again because we got to do that to win. But then later I'll put out the facts. Yeah, who knows? Well, either way, Guns, it does show that the New York Times is not at their best lately, and despite all odds, I'd say we're on the upswing while they're on the downswing, Guns. I'll say it that way.